Welcome to episode 17 of the SUPfm podcast. This week, Simon Hutchinson and myself, Nick Robinson, discuss basically what we do is we recap the last 16 episodes of our first season of podcasts. We're looking forward to the next season, and you'll hear more about that in a bit.
Aloha, and welcome to SUPfm, the podcast for stand-up paddleboarders everywhere. So with no further ado, let's get out on the water and on with the show. Here are your hosts, Nick and Simon.
So this episode is sponsored by the National Watersports Festival, which is the largest water participation event in the UK, and it's on this year between Friday the 4th and Sunday the 6th of September. And this year, for the first year, SUP, stand-up paddling, is on an equal footing to the other sports taking place at the festival, windsurfing and kite surfing. There's a whole load of brand new events to keep spectators and participants involved. We've got SUP Polo, which I don't know whether you've tried that, Nick, have you?
No, I haven't yet, and it's great. It's good to see it making itself known at this National Watersports Festival.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sponsored by Starboard, and I'm hoping it's going to be a contact sport, so I'm particularly looking forward to that. We've got the XL Challenge as well. So there's a fleet of SUPs sponsored by a Fanatic. And
so how many are there going to be? Do you know?
I have no idea. I mean, hopefully there'll be lots of physical contact there as well. I suspect there will be. But that looks very exciting. There's Survivor, which is a paddle to the end. So 3-minute rounds to complete a triangle course with the last two paddlers being eliminated. So definitely the last man or woman standing on that one. And then there's also a similar knockout relay and sprint race. So lots and lots of activity. And of course, for those of you who've managed to go to the National Watersports Festival at Hayling Island before, there's also lots of clinics, lots of advice, and a chance to see all the brands on display. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hutch Supwear will be there. We've got a stand there, and it's all very exciting. So come down. You can come down and spectate for free, and that's on Friday the 4th to the 6th of September. So if you're anywhere around the UK or anywhere in Europe, come and check it out at Hayling Island.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that that's obviously in the United Kingdom, in the down south is it fairly near Bournemouth?
Yeah, it is. It's really, really near me. So it's all down on the lovely south coast. And last year it was absolutely beautiful. We had fantastic weather. In fact, the only thing that you could really do there was stand up paddleboard because there was no wind whatsoever. So yeah, the kite surfers sort of disappeared in a little bit of a huff. Windsurfers got a bit of wind, but yeah, it was definitely a SUP weekend, and it's definitely going to be a SUP weekend this September.
Great, and we can find out more information at www.nationalwatersportsfestival.com.
Indeed. Good.
Excellent.
Right, so it's been a few weeks since our last episode, hasn't it, Nick?
Yeah, we've kind of taken a bit of a pause here in between what we've called the first series of 16 podcasts. And we're gunning up for our second series this autumn. So we just like to take this opportunity to look back over those last 16 episodes.
And thank all our listeners as well, because we've had a huge amount of downloads just for our first season. We weren't sure whether anyone would be listening at all, but it's been really surprising how much of a following and a listening we've had. So we're really grateful to each and every one of you who has downloaded our podcast.
I know, it's been amazing to see all those figures. It's been incredible. So many downloads. We've been really, really happy to have all that. So yeah, thanks for me too. Thank you from me too, should I say.
Yeah. So in terms of season 2, we've got some big names, and we're really looking forward to publishing those episodes from some point in September. I don't think we've decided the date yet, have we, Nick?
No, but I think it'll, sometime around then.
Good. Right. So should we do a quick review of last season? And that will give you the opportunity, if you're missing your SUP fix, you can listen back to some of those key episodes. So I think the first one that we had a guest on was Dave from Roatan Paddlesports, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was number 3, because the first one was just a welcome, a little bit about us. So if you're wondering who on earth we are, you can go and see the first, or you can go and listen to the first episode. And the second one was actually about our Guadiana challenge, which we jointly put on, which is coming back next year in March, or late March. But yeah, Dave from Roatan Paddlesports, he was great fun. It was really fantastic to just get a glimpse of Dave's day in the life of what Dave does down there in the Caribbean. It was an amazing experience to listen to how he goes.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I love about SUP is, and through the conversations with the people that we've talked to, is the whole lifestyle thing, the living well and quality living, and for Dave, lying on his hammock of a morning and then welcoming the guests from the cruise ship and then introducing them to the world of SUP. It just sounded absolutely idyllic.
But I'm looking at the photograph that we've got on SUPfm of Dave's place, and it just looks absolutely incredible. There's this lagoon, typical paradise, waving palm trees, beautiful white beaches, and just still lagoon. Perfect position to paddleboard. So if you're ever in the Honduras, get down and check out Dave.
Absolutely. And then our fourth episode was Tati Coco SUP, and she was an amazing character and really inspiring.
Yeah, international SUP rock star. Did you write that?
I did. Yeah, that's I'm going to trademark that. But she certainly is. I mean, she's been all over the world. She discovered stand-up paddleboard by accident while she was in the somewhere in the Pacific. And
New Caledonia,
yeah, and since then she hasn't looked back. She's a ambassador for Red Paddle Co, and you can see all of her fine work on Facebook. Just type in Tati Coco SUP, and she's currently in Ireland, and just doing a fantastic job. I think it's Magic. Is it Magic Watersports that she's working for at the moment? But just some amazing photos and just an amazing character, and she's done some amazing stuff.
Yeah, every year she seems to do another crazy adventure. And last year, she did a 600-kilometer paddle around Sardinia, which we get into in that podcast. It was quite interesting. And I think she's got some crazy stuff planned for this year. So keep following old Tati Coco SUP.
And next it was Susanne Lier. So she spends her time, I think the summers in Lake Geneva paddling there, and then she spends the balance of her time in the Canary Islands, which is, I guess, Europe's or maybe Africa's answer to Hawaii. Lots of surf, lots of downwinders, and so on. But she's a regular, certainly on the on the European race circuit, and she gave us some fascinating glimpses into, all the various races on the European circuit and her lifestyle.
And I think also what she brought to Europe a lot is, and Switzerland itself, is paddle fit. Because she engineered this exercise routine that you do on a paddle fit, and she actually certifies people as well, exercise routine and stand-up paddleboard. So it's that's interesting too. She's not but she's not actually associated with Paddle Fit USA, which is a completely different ballgame, but similar kind of thing. I think it's a very interesting facet of the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can use SUP, as we've discovered over the season. So that's an episode worth listening to. And then after Susanne Lier, we had Mr. Chase Kosterlitz, who was an absolutely fascinating guy to speak to, being, I think he's the top 10 male SUP athletes in the world, and ever present in Battle of the Paddle, as was, and he's also come over to Europe quite a bit this year.
Yeah, it's great to see him taking part in the European circuit as well. I think he loves to travel a lot. And he's also noteworthy for his work with the Stand Up Paddle Athletes Association, which is, I think it's at SUPAA.com. I think that's or SUPathletes.com. I'm not quite sure of the URL. Check it out.
Yeah, and with a star-studded members of the board there, with Travis Grant and basically anyone within the SUP athletes world. But he was very, very forthright, really very honest about everything really. But a very, very entertaining listen. If you haven't heard him yet, that's Chase Kosterlitz.
And with episode number 7, we spoke to Anthony Heukmes from SUPtrotters.com, which is a really cool website. It's a social network for stand-up paddlers. So you can basically track your stand-up paddle session and then post up photos and things afterwards. And it's actually doing really well. We got some interesting stats out of that, actually.
Yeah.
They're very interesting stats.
Yeah, particularly the popularity of the sport in Brazil. I mean, it seems to be the leading country, but albeit the fact that obviously over the winter Brazil would be a pretty good place to paddleboard. So it'd be interesting to get him back in season 2 and just find out whether that's changed through a sort of northern hemisphere summer.
Sure. Another interesting fact that he brought up was that the average age of a stand-up paddler is 45 years old. So I was really thrilled to hear that I'm spot on average.
Yeah, well, you were absolutely average, and I was happy to say that I was.
Thank you, Simon.
I was younger than that until
below average.
Yeah, I was below average until last week. So and now I'm average. So that's so I'm joining you on that age bracket.
Excellent. Nice to have you.
So Anthony, he was great, and then my mate Tez from down here.
Have you managed to pronounce Tez's surname yet?
No, I leave that to you.
Plavenieks.
Well done, that's fantastic. So Tez lives very close to me down on the south coast, and he's editor of SUP Mag UK, and he's been part of the SUP scene in the UK for many years, and what he doesn't know isn't worth knowing. So super guy, absolute, with a passion for water sports and particularly stand-up paddling, and we were asking him about how to select a stand-up paddleboard if you hadn't really had any contact with stand-up paddling before, and he gave us loads and loads of great information. So if you're in that position, if you want to know down to the last detail how to select a stand-up paddleboard that suits you, then that episode with Tez is a great one to listen to.
Yeah, I'd love to get Tez back to chat about wind SUPs.
Wind SUPs?
Yeah, stand-up paddleboards with a hole in it for a windsurfing rig.
Yeah, because
see if they're worthwhile. See if they're just a fad or not. Because I think I'm quite interested in those actually.
Well, he'd know because he's started as a windsurfer, didn't he? So
yeah,
he'd have,
exactly.
Okay, well we'll pencil him in then.
So number 9, Charlie Howden, who is beyond inspiring. He what's the deal? I mean, basically, Charlie Howden had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and in between bouts of chemotherapy, decided to go and paddle 450 miles down the coast of Costa Rica.
Absolutely, and I'm just going to mention now, because we put it on our Facebook earlier this week, there are the SUP Awards run by a SUP magazine, but we'll put it in the show notes. But there are nominations for 2015's Best Expedition, Best SUP Expedition, and Charlie Howden is in that list of nominees. So what would be great is if we could nominate him for that, because to take a 2-week holiday from chemotherapy and then go and paddle hundreds of kilometers down the coast of Costa Rica, I don't know anyone who's as you said, who's more inspiring than that. So it would be great to get him nominated, to get him as a prize winner. Just incredible guy.
Yeah, it was amazing to chat to him, and he had to self-administer his his medicine every single day as well. I think with injections into his stomach and things. My God,
Yeah.
what a trip.
And I
What a
think
trip.
he had a pretty tough time going down the coast as well because, despite the fact that we wished him the wind at his back, I don't think it actually worked out that way for him. So he had all sorts of challenges to just sort of grind the miles away. But, he got to his objective, and full credit to him.
Yeah, fantastic job. So another guy who did quite a big thing was Spike Reed, paddled all the way across the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, Spike's got a great pedigree for exploring, and another person who's adopted stand-up paddling following an expedition with Dave Cornthwaite, who we're hoping to have on the second season of the podcast. So big adventurer. He's got one of those fantastic sort of 19th century explorer moustaches, so he definitely looks the part. But he was talking to us a few days after he'd crossed the UK on his stand-up paddleboard with some friends, and had made his way across the UK via the canal network. He
including 100 locks.
Exactly, yeah. God, so probably more carrying the stand-up paddleboard than paddling it. But really interesting to hear about his exploration history and another.
It's also fascinating to hear about his trip around Martinique with Dave Cornthwaite, because that was quite an amazing trip.
It is.
And Dave produced quite a magical video as well, which I think we've pasted into the show notes.
We have, and I think that won an award somewhere or other. So it's getting quite a bit of recognition. But seeing that video, you really get a taste for what was. I think Spike, he was a novice stand-up paddleboarder. I don't think he'd even been on one before he sort of pitched up to start that trip. So it was a challenge for quite a few people taking part, but it really captures the excitement of that trip. But the thing about Spike and Dave Cornthwaite and various other people is that their focus now is about appreciating the area where you live, and making sure that you explore and have a great time there. You don't have to jet off across the world in order to have an adventure and have fun with friends. So yeah, that was Spike Reed.
Yeah, and number 11, episode 11, we managed to get hold of the CEO of Red Paddle Co., Mr. John Hibbard. And we talked a lot about innovation of stand-up paddle and the technology of inflatable stand-ups, obviously because he's just involved in inflatable stand-ups.
Yeah.
And I think Red Paddle Co. has done an immense amount to lift the bar when it comes to stand-up, inflatable stand-ups. So,
absolutely.
That was an interesting chat with him. Very, very, very interesting chat with him.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked at every aspect of stand-up paddling and inflatables to bring, effective innovation into it. And for me, I'm a owner of inflatable paddleboard. I'm sure, like most of us, but it's my sort of primary way of getting on the water, and particularly impressed by the detail going into pumps and paddles and the setup of their factory and so on. So they're constantly innovating rather than just sort of doing off the shelf products. They're really sort of pushing the envelope.
And it's almost time for all the paddleboard manufacturers to bring out their 2016 lines. And generally in August that happens. So keep your eyes peeled for new models from all the manufacturers.
Well, you know where you can see them if you're in the UK or in Europe.
What? The National Watersports Festival.
Exactly. From Friday the 4th to the 6th of September. And it's going on a weekend, free admission to spectate. And there's camping there. And I'm willing to bet there's going to be a couple of parties going on there, which I will definitely be participating in. So it'd be great to see you at the National Watersports Festival at Hayling Island on Friday the 4th to Sunday the 6th of September.
I wish I could be there. Really, really, really thinking seriously about ripping over for a weekend.
You should.
All right.
Good.
Okay, so episode 12, we took a stand-up paddleboard across the world with Frans Orsi because he did a trip, I think they were sponsored by Starboard actually, with Bart de Swart, who is an amazing adventurer. He's done incredible adventures around the world. So it was fascinating to hear Frans talking about how they suddenly landed up in the middle of the earthquake in Nepal, which is quite a scary instance and very saddening, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, they started in the Pacific, and they went on to Nepal, and then finally, when they were able to leave Nepal, they went to Ethiopia, then to Istanbul. So you kind of tick off 2 countries with Istanbul, I guess Asia and Europe, and then they went off to the ISA World Championships in Mexico. But certainly from the conversation that you had with him, it really the Nepal experience really had a really big effect on him.
And he was such an easy guy to chat to. We chatted for about 45 minutes, I think. So that's probably our longest podcast to date.
Yeah, and he's in Portugal, isn't he? He's based in Portugal.
Yeah, just north of Lisbon in Guincho, which is also it's a very good surf spot. They held the nationals, I mean the international surf championships there last year. And no doubt they'll probably be doing it again this year.
Yeah, and I think the Italian team, the ISA Italian team, came down and trained on the Portuguese coast as well. So it's definitely a centre for supping down there.
Yeah, well, why would you go anywhere else? I mean, it's got the biggest wave in the world.
Well, have I mentioned Hailing Island? Yes, I think I probably have.
I think you've mentioned that twice, actually.
Yeah, okay. All right, okay.
Maybe we can talk about Hailing Island after the next couple of episodes.
Oh, no, that's okay. I think yeah, well, why don't we? Yeah.
Why not? Okay, so number 13, Sarah Tiefenthaler told us all about stand-up paddle yoga.
Yeah.
And she's got a retreat. She normally practices stand-up paddle yoga in California, right?
That's right. And then she does various festivals and so on. And she also spends a bit of time in a place that I've spent time, which is Skiathos in Greece, which has got the most minute airport. You think you're landing on a footpath, but no, it's an airfield, and a bit of a brown trouser moment when you're approaching that airport. But yeah, she was very entertaining, and I think because neither of us have a particular background in yoga, but I think we definitely need to get practicing.
Yeah, because it was a little bit short, that podcast. Maybe it was due to our lack of knowledge of stand-up paddle yoga.
Yeah, I think that was probably what it was. But she'd had some other incredible experiences that we talked about as well with her, which is appearing on a National Geographic survival series.
Yeah, that was insane. I mean, she's sitting there with a headset on and basically not much to deal with. And she was told to go here, go there, kill this animal or whatever. I don't know if she killed any animals, but she had to survive for sure. And it was pretty extreme. I think she was way up north in Washington. I think it was up in Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah,
or Seattle somewhere.
Yeah, one of those rainforests. But I've seen those survival programs. Basically, you get piped through to a survival expert who just basically tells you what to do in order to survive, and you've got to sort of confront all your demons. It's sort of freezing cold river.
There's some crazy survival programs out there. Actually, there's like a naked survival.
Yeah,
program.
Naked and Afraid. Yeah, that's
classic.
That's classic. And then there was another one on recently called Alone, which I haven't seen the final episode yet. But basically, these guys just get shunted off into was it Vancouver Island, I think, which has got the highest concentration of bears and mountain lions and all sorts. And
well, thank God Sarah didn't get taken out by a bear, which is handy. So, episode number 14, we interviewed Adam Champagne.
Great interview to find out about the leading SUP website.
Yeah, he basically single-handedly took a very successful magazine, put it on the internet, and made it the most successful stand-up paddle website. So it's fascinating to hear how he did it and the story behind the stand-up journal and who's involved there.
Yeah,
because they no doubt are the number one website at the moment in the stand-up paddle industry. So
definitely,
it's good chatting to Mr. Adam Champagne.
And then after Adam Champagne, it was Mr. Kai Lenny.
Yeah, world champion stand-up paddle superhero.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a great chat. And unfortunately, we had a bit of a Skype problem at the end, didn't we? So it didn't last quite as long as we wanted, but talked for a good half an hour or so, and he just seems
Yeah, I
like
could
a
have
lovely
spoken to
guy.
Kai all day. I could have spoken to him all day. He was such a wonderful guy. He was really cool. He had just hopped off a plane like 36 hours from Hawaii and arrived in Barcelona. So I managed to grab him at his hotel in Barcelona. And we Skyped for, yeah, as you said, half an hour and talked all about everything, his time at Jaws, his training techniques and all kinds of stuff. It's fascinating to hear about his lifestyle, and it was almost like he just couldn't go wrong because of all the stand-up paddle and the surf talent that hung around his house every weekend.
Yeah, well, I would love to have an invite to that barbecue.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
Yeah, so Laird Hamilton and Dave Kalama popping round for a barbecue with his dad on a Friday evening and a few beers. That's yeah,
Well, hopefully we can get those guys in season 2.
yeah. So we're working on that.
Yeah,
Laird, if you're
hopefully.
listening,
Yeah, please, we'd love to chat to you.
yeah.
You see, Laird just did a little nude photo shoot for stand up with swim. What's it? Swimsuit Illustrated. They do like
Oh,
ESPN. They do a nude section. So him and his wife went naked. Have you seen that?
yeah. I did see that. I did see that.
It's hilarious. Hilarious.
And also he did a great podcast recently, a podcast interview with Tim Ferriss. So if you haven't caught that, I'd really recommend it.
It was a good 2 hours long. Then it was worth every single minute. It was fascinating, and especially if you a little bit older, they talk a lot about how to maintain your fitness throughout the age barrier. Really.
So Tim Ferriss is generally a good listen anyway, but that was off the charts, that one.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting because I think he had his wife on there as well, and another gym guy.
Yeah, running guy.
Oh. So our last episode of the series was with Jodelle Fitzwater, who is such a delightful girl.
Yeah.
Lady, should I say? Sorry.
Absolutely.
She was. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, she's gone through a lot of stuff in her life and got into the physical fitness, and then just discovered an affinity with stand-up paddle. So whether it's yoga or fitness, I particularly liked her approach to SUP racing. She was headhunted by Bic to be an ambassador, and entered for a race. And I thought it was brilliant going around the boys. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, she just said she didn't really do very well because she would stop at the boys and sort of usher everybody through and say, "Oh no, it's okay. You can go first. You can go first. No problem."
That's a very English sort of behaviour, isn't it? Really, but
yeah, it's very polite.
Yeah.
And I think the big SUP guys were just probably tearing their hair out, like, "Oh my god!" But she's probably very different to the normal ambassadors, and she does things in her own way, and she's just such a warm, loving person. It's just such a fantastic. It was so wonderful to talk to her. It really was amazing.
So that the mermaid of Jodelle Fitzwater was our last interviewee for series 1.
And don't forget the nutritional tips she gave us, and those nice little peanut butter cakes, whatever they were.
And all of that is on her program notes. We wrote up all her recipes and put them on there. So if you're going on a 40-50 kilometre paddle, then try them out. Let us know how you get on.
I'll definitely be trying those out because I'm going to do a long one soon.
Good.
150 kilometers.
Yes. So tell me about that.
No, I can't yet.
Oh, okay. Secret.
Secret, yeah, for now. But when it all comes out, we'll be sure to let everybody know. It's going to be a great paddle. I think. I hope.
So how have you enjoyed the first season of SUPfm?
To be honest, I've absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed speaking to these people, and such talented people. And it's a privilege to be able to get to chat to people like this because, it helps. It helps in everyday life, especially it helps with my school down here in the Algarve. I think it's great.
Yeah,
love it. Well, how have you found it, Stephen? Simon?
Stephen.
Steve, how have you found it, Simon?
Well, Bob, it's been it's been great. No, it's been great. And speaking to all of these people, and that there's something in common with all of them. All of us, I think everyone in the SUP world, no matter what your discipline, there's skill, and there's being out there in nature and being out there in the fresh air, and I think there's just a huge amount of connection between people who SUP, regardless of how you prefer to do it. So I think that the whole industry and the SUP world's coming together. I think it's still obviously really early days, but there's a certain spirit out there, and I love speaking to people, and it seems to be shared all across the world. So there you go. That's my little idyllic view of it.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I just share your sentiments exactly, and we're looking forward to speaking to more exciting people over the next season. So thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate it, and don't forget to check out the National Watersports Festival
in Hayling Island between the 4th and the 6th of September. Thank you very much to our sponsors. Thank you, Nick, for being a fantastic host over the first season. You've done a brilliant job.
Well, thank you for producing every single item and all those show notes. Couldn't have done it without you, Simon.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to SUPfm, the #1 podcast for stand-up paddlers wherever you are. If you like what you've heard, please leave us a review on iTunes. Until then, we'll see you on